here loves maths? Raise your hands. I see a few hands, but not enough. Today, I want to tell you, all of you, that we are all mathematicians. Let me tell you the story of my life on Friday afternoons. School is finished. The teachers are at the pub. I have a drink in my hand, a half pint. I'll meet someone and introduce myself. Hi, I'm Bobby. They'll ask me, what do you do, Bobby? I respond, I'm a school maths teacher. At this point, they usually say, I need to head to the bathroom. What did I say? It's like déjà vu. I think maths teacher might have put them off. They'll return, and I'll corner them politely and ask them, why did you abandon me? And they'll respond, I hated maths at school. Sadly, this is a conversation that many experience. People would never admit that they can't read, yet it's culturally acceptable to mock maths. More than that, it's a badge of honor to say you can't do maths. Let's change the dialogue. I have similar conversations at school. At parents' evening, there was a dad looking at the results of his 11-year-old daughter, Emily. Emily didn't have the best of starts to school maths. So Dad said, don't worry, Emily, I didn't have a maths brain, and maybe you don't either. At this point, I wanted to have a proper go at the dad. But I rebutted him, politely. Dad, there's no such thing as a maths brain, that you either can or can't do maths. Do you remember when Emily was born? Oh, yes, I remember. Emily's obviously looking a bit embarrassed now. When Emily was born, and in the hospital, there would have been a nurse with a clipboard checking vitals. So Emily's got 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, 2 ears, but unfortunately, Dad, Emily does not appear to have a maths brain. That last bit didn't happen, did it, Dad? There is no such thing as a maths brain. I believe that we are all mathematicians. I'm an ambassador for the charity National Numeracy, whose aim is to raise levels of numeracy with children and adults. Let's look at what their research shows us with the question they asked about numerical competence. So imagine you're earning £9 an hour, and your boss gives you a 5% pay rise, clearly inflation busting. How much do you now earn? I can see a few cogs turning, few cogs. If you got £9.45, give yourselves a pat on the back. Really, do give yourself a pat on the back. There are many mental methods to do this. One is to work out 10% of £9, that's 90p, and then half that for 5%, which is 45p, and add it on, £9.45. You see that method, when explained, it's not too challenging. And yet, in the UK, nearly 50% of adults struggled with this question, even with a calculator. Really, that's 1 in 2 adults struggling to work out 5% of £9. Why is this? Competence and confidence. One issue that might impact people and their relationship with the subject is maths anxiety. Maths anxiety is that negative emotion response we feel when encountering maths. It can happen to school children in the classroom and doing long division, or even to us adults in the real world. When it's time to split the restaurant bill, even myself as a maths teacher, I feel under pressure to get the arithmetic correct. We need to change that. Let's change the dialogue. We need to move from a place where people have that fear of maths to one where they're excited about maths, where we are all mathematicians. People who meet me sometimes say, "Oh, but Bobby, you've always loved maths." Yes, there is an element of truth to that. I've had a positive relationship with maths, numbers, data's shape for a while. In fact, my first job out of university was as a financial markets trader at the investment bank Lehman Brothers. Didn't turn out to be a good choice of bank, but that's for another Tedx talk. I was then a chartered accountant and now a school maths teacher. So you're probably thinking, why did Bobby change careers from high-powered finance to teaching? I'll tell you more if you wait till the end, although you have no choice about that. So the question to ask is, why did I change careers? And more importantly about that is, how did I get into maths in the first place? When I was born at the hospital, was my dad there with a nurse, and the nurse going, "Oh yes, your son Bobby's definitely got a maths brain"? That bit definitely didn't happen. So the question is, how did I get into maths in the first place? What was my hook? So for young Bobby, it was football. Growing up in East London, lots of kids collected football stickers. The ones that you carefully peel off and stick into books. Friends used to always speculate about which players were better. Often with no evidence, just who could shout the loudest. I remember one conversation. A friend said, Southampton's Letizia is a better striker than Arsenal's Ian Wright. These sticker books were treasure troves of information. For the football players, it contained names, ages, heights, goals scored, left foot, right foot, penalties, appearances, and so on. I took all the data for the two players, compared them, and I found that Ian Wright was probably a more effective striker. So I told my friend, Ian Wright is probably a more effective striker. And he said, "Oh, that's a good point, Bobby." Okay, it didn't make me more popular. But it did show me the power of numbers. Numbers don't lie, and they can help us look at things more objectively. And it's in this world that we are all mathematicians. So how do I hook my own students into maths? I was teaching a class of year 7, so 11 to 12-year-olds. And you remember Emily? She wasn't quite sure what to make of maths. "Mr. Seagull, you're quite a nice teacher, but your subject is dead." "My subject dead? You think maths is boring, Emily?" "Yes, sadly, yes, Mr. Seagull, it's true." She's calling my subject boring. At this point, as a teacher, I have one of two responses to deal with this emergency. Either I could tell Emily, "Be quiet and get on with your work." Or I could engage with her. I opted for the latter. So I told the class, there's something called the Millennium Prize problems, 7 of the most difficult problems in maths. And if you solve any of them, there's a cash prize available for $1 million. And at this point, Emily's eyes nearly burst out of her head. Oh, Mr. Seagull, can we just spend every lesson working on them? And if we get them correct, we'll split the money 30 ways. Okay, calm down, Emily, calm down. There are 7 of these problems, Emily, ranging from computational maths, physics, and geometry. But there's one in particular that you might understand. Which one is that, Mr. Seagull? It's called the Riemann hypothesis. And the Riemann hypothesis is about prime numbers. So, Emily, what are prime numbers? Oh, that's easy, sir. Prime numbers are whole numbers that are only divisible by 1 and itself. Good, well done. So 11 is prime because it's only divisible by 1 and itself. But what about 9? Oh, 9 is also divisible by 3, so it's not prime. The class were hooked and listening intently, knowing that prime numbers could be their passport to $1 million. But stepping away from the classroom, mathematicians can be obsessed by prime numbers. But there's a reason for this obsession. Prime numbers are the building blocks of maths. Just like primary colors in painting, or verbs for writers, or atoms for chemists. But maths and prime numbers are more than just obsessions. Every time you use a cache point or a secure website, it's highly likely it's relying on the use of very large prime numbers. Even in nature, we see prime numbers. On the east coast of America, there's little creatures called cicadas. And because they're tasty, lots of predators want to eat them. These cicadas emerge from their hibernation cycles every 13 or 17 years. I wonder what's special about these 2 numbers. Well, they're prime numbers, and their prime number cycles avoid predator cycles. You can Google more about insects and maths, but it's in this world that we are all mathematicians. Mums and dads out there, when you're going shopping, you'll be planning your journey time, comparing discounts. What's better value? Buy 2, get 1 free, or 50% off, and assessing whether the food you bought is enough to serve your family. Parents out there, show your children you're using maths and numbers all the time. Let's change the dialogue. And adults, whether you're planning a gym routine, taking measurements for home improvement, or even assessing your probability of finding your true love, you're all using maths in some way. We are using maths all the time. All the time. Maths is a truly universal language. If I set a piece of school maths work here in Britain, or Brazil, or Bangladesh, we can agree on the same answer. And if aliens landed on the earth today, they might not like our food, or our music, or our art, but they would still have the same understanding of prime numbers as us. Maths is truly universal. Earlier, I said I changed careers from high-powered finance to teaching. Why? You guessed it. Maths is the reason. The word maths itself instills fear into people. And yet maths is beautiful, meaningful, and can help us connect with the world. I want to change the dialogue. I want to challenge perceptions. I want everybody to embrace maths wholeheartedly. I see a future world connected by maths, and maths uniting everything. In the Peter Pan stories, every time a child says, "I don't believe in fairies," a fairy drops down dead. In the real world, every time someone says, "I can't do maths," there's one less mathematician. So let's change the dialogue. The next time you meet me in a pub, I'll introduce myself and say, "Hi, I'm Bobby, the school maths teacher." And you know what you're going to say? "Oh yeah, maths, that's quite a cool subject." And more than that, I truly believe that we are all mathematicians.